Hi guys, it is Court and Shaz coming at you. Today we are going through Sun Salutations, also known as Surya Namaskar A and B. So we are going to break down this flow. So this is a warm-up. This can be done as a warm-up, and it's also a really nice flow to do just as is. It's always traditionally done before we start our practice, and we are going to break down the poses as they come, offering regressions and progressions, and yeah, just have a little bit of fun with it. So it's really good if you do have a strong yoga practice, just to kind of check in with your alignment, making sure you're doing everything right. And if you're new to yoga, just kind of getting the feel of everything and understanding how it all works. So we're going to get straight into it with the first pose. So starting at the top of the mat in mountain pose. So Sharon is going to bring her big toes to touch with a slight gap of the heels. Now, if this is not comfortable for you, you can always have your feet hip width distance apart. Absolutely fine. We're going to close down the eyes, and those palms will face forward, drawing those fingertips down. And we're going to start at the base, so with the feet. So what we want to do is anchor down through all four corners of the feet. So that's the big toe, the pinky toe, and the two corners of the heel. We'll have a slight lift at the inner arch. And as you lift that inner arch, you'll feel that energetic pull making its way all through the spine up to the crown of the head, almost as if you have a piece of string holding you up in your vertic neutral. So you have nice, easy shoulders. Shoulders are away from the ears, and we are drawing those fingertips down with those lift of the arches there, really working in opposition of upward and downward energy here. So it's a really nice, strong foundation in this pose. And we're just going to take 5 cycles of breath. So feeling through the space within yourself, observing the breath, and using this pose as a call to attention. I am here, I am ready, I am present. One more breath. And you can take a nice sigh out on the exhalation. Really nice. And on the next inhale, Sharon's going to crack open the eyes and take those hands to sky. Hands in prayer. We have a slight back bend here. And on the exhale, we'll swan dive forward, meeting in our first forward fold for the practice. So we will aim for straight legs here, but for now we will have a slight micro bend in the knees in our forward fold. This is also known as Uttanasana in Sanskrit. And we'll inhale to halfway lift, Ardha Uttanasana, using the blocks just like Sharon is. It's always good to be able to grip something. So if you don't have blocks at home, you can always take the hands to the shins as well. Lengthening through the spine, so the heart is pulling forward and the shins are energetically pulling back, making sure that the hips are over the heels here and the neck is in line with the spine. Exhale to fold, and we're going to take a couple more rounds using the blocks. Inhale to lift, lengthen through the spine. Exhale, soften. Let's go for one more round. Inhale, lengthen. Really nice, Sharon. Exhale, soften. All right, let's remove the blocks for now, coming back into your halfway lift. And we're going to start with taking that left leg back first, meeting in a low lunge position. And then we're going to meet that back foot with the right, going into our high plank. So we're going to move into the modified version of Chaturanga first, but before we get there, in our high plank, we want to make sure that we've got a nice soft bend in the elbow, so we're protecting the elbow joints, that we're shifting the heels to the back of the room. We're drawing the navel into the spine, so really engaging those lower abdominals, and that we are sinking just ever so slightly in the hips. All right, so now Sharon's going to take her knees down and then her chest, followed by her chin, and then moving into a flat belly position, keeping the elbows hugged in as they are, drawing the eyes of the elbows back, and then we'll come into easy cobra, which is a slight lift, just as Sharon is doing, just above the navel. Exhale to lower. Let's do a couple more rounds here. So we're really making sure that we're not splaying out through those elbows. They're nice and hugged in through to the baseline, and we're really pushing that earth away. Inhale to rise, exhale to lower. Let's do one more round, and you can come up just a little bit higher in your cobra position this time. Inhale, pause, eye gaze forward. Exhale to lower, really nice. So keeping the hands at the base of the rib cage, an option to come up via the knees or through your full plank and meeting in downward facing dog. Really nice. So we want to set up the foundation for our downward facing dog now. Because it's our first downward facing dog, you're more than welcome to have a nice generous bend in the knees. We want to make sure that all 10 fingers are facing forward and that we are equally spread through those fingers as well. So they're shoulder width distance. We have our heels drawing down, which are also hip width distance, and our heart is melting towards our shins. So eventually, as the practice goes on, downward facing dog will feel more like a resting pose. Don't worry, you'll see what I mean. So on the next inhale, we're going to lift up those heels, balancing on the ball mounts of the feet. Still a slight bend in the knees if you need. Eye gaze to the top of the mat, and without bending the knees, we are going to heel toe our way to the back of our hands. And this is a really nice exercise. Taking it as slowly as you need to, meeting in a halfway lift, lengthen. Exhale to fold, Uttanasana. Really nice. And on the next inhale, we'll slowly come up to rise, reset, upward hands, eye gaze to sky, and then to close the round, we'll take our hands in prayer to heart center, the palms connect to sternum, and on the exhale, we'll release the palms, reset, mountain pose. All right, so we're going to add on now. So we're going to go through the full Chaturanga, and I'll show you the variation with the block so you understand exactly the alignment that you need from the chest to the mat, and we'll also introduce upward facing dog as well. So let's get straight into it. Inhale to rise, slight back bend. Exhale, melt into your forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. And this time it's the opposite leg that reaches back, so it will be the left. All right, and let's go through our high plank first. And I'm going to place the block just in between Sharon's hands here, so just underneath the chest. So she's in her plank, and then as she bends through the elbow, she's going to slowly lower down, pausing at the block. So this is where she wants to be. Hold. And I'm going to remove the block for Sharon now. And on the exhale, she's going to shift forward into upward facing dog. Beautifully done. So in upward facing dog, we're really activating through the thighs. So we're making sure that those heels are drawing in towards one another. We have internal rotation. And we have the thighs lifting up off the floor, still a softness in the elbows, eye gaze forward. Try not to tilt the head back too much. I have a tendency of doing this. And then on the exhale, Sharon's going to roll over the toes and meet back in downward facing dog. Really nice. Okay, let's take 2 breaths here. Drawing those heels down. And it's okay if those heels don't touch the mat, guys. They don't need to. It's just an energetic pull. And we also want to make sure that we have external rotation of the upper arms and internal rotation of the forearms as well in this position. All right, so on the next inhale, we're going to come up high on the ball mounts of the feet, and we're going to walk to the top of the mat once again. Nice and slow. Heel toe to the back of the hands, meeting in Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, fold. Really good. Inhale to rise. Exhale, taking those hands in prayer position. And drop those hands, palms facing forward. We're back in Tadasana. All right, so for our next round, we're going to introduce the jump through and the jump back. So we're going to use blocks as well, so keep them close by. So in Tadasana, we're drawing that tailbone down. So we have a slight posterior tilt here, nothing too dramatic, just ever so slight. Creating our foundation, and on the inhale, we take those hands to sky. Really nice. Exhale to fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Let's grab those blocks. And Sharon is placing them just framing both feet here, so just by the pinky toe edge. Really nice. So she's going to plant both palms just, I would say, in the center of the block. Now, with the jump back, we want to have a nice bend through the knees, so the belly is grazing at the thighs. We've got a bit of, I think she's just fighting time, but it's okay. Slight bend in the elbows, and we want to land in our Chaturanga with bent elbows, because we don't want to land with extended arms, because we really want to make sure that we're protecting and keeping our elbows and our arms really safe. And on the inhale breath, we'll lower and jump back. Beautifully done. And roll over the toes, using the blocks still, upward facing. Roll over the toes, downward facing dog. Keeping the blocks where they are. And they're all set up for our jump through now. So, downward facing dog. We'll take one breath here. And sigh out your exhalation. Really nice. And we're going to bring those big toes to touch now. Slight gap of the heels once again. And we're going to bend through the knees as the heels rise, eye gaze forward. And we're going to aim for the feet to land just behind the blocks. All right. Here we go, nice light landing, really nice. Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, fold. And you can remove the blocks to the side now. And just allow yourself to enjoy this nice juicy inversion in your forward fold for a moment or two. And on the next inhale, we take the hands to sky, reset, upward hands, take the hands in prayer. Exhale, Samasthiti, hands in prayer, closing this round, dropping the hands, palms face forward. Excellent.
Do you think we should go through one cycle of just flowing with one breath?
I think so. All right, let's do it. It's a collaborative thing. Yeah, let's just put all the pieces of the puzzle together. Why not? Before we throw more stuff in there. All right, let's go. All right, let's start in our Tadasana. Now, it's so important here, guys, that through everything that we've spoken about, we integrate that into the practice. So when you're in Tadasana, so even if we're moving a little bit more quicker now, that we still know exactly what we need to do. So we're anchoring down through the feet. We're drawing the tailbone down. We're pulling the fingertips towards the earth. Nice and strong. Inhale, upward hands. Really nice. Hands in prayer. Exhale, fold. Bend in the knees if you need to. Inhale, halfway lift, making sure you're lengthening through the spine. Neck is an extension of the spine. And then we take that jump back through Chaturanga. If it's in your practice, or you're more than welcome to stick with the taking one leg back at a time. Either easy cobra or upward facing dog. Pause. Exhale, roll over the toes, downward facing dog. Excellent. Okay, let's pause in our downward facing dog, preparing for our jump through now. So you can have the feet hip width distance or taking the big toes to touch once again. Eye gaze forward, bend in the knees, soft landing between the palms, Ardha Uttanasana, lengthen, exhale to fold, inhale to rise. Taking the hands in prayer and closing the practice, allowing the hands to drop by our sides, and we're back where we started. Beautiful. All right, shall we add on a bit more?
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. All right, let's go to right the top of the mat. Yep, let's do it. And we are going to take those big toes to touch. Once again, slight gap of the heels. Now with Surya Namaskar B, we're introducing a few new poses, and a few of our old friends that we've just gone through are going to join the party as well. All right, so the first pose is Utkatasana, chair pose. So what we want to do here is we want to take our hands back first, and as we begin to sweep forward, we bend through the knees, and as the fingertips brush the earth, that's where you want to stay in this squat-like position. So we're rolling the sitting bones under, so drawing the tailbone down, avoiding that duck butt situation, climbing the fingertips up to the ceiling, the shoulders are away from the ears, zipping the thighs together, and really shifting the weight into the heels. It's almost as if you can peel those toes up off the earth. So I'm going to stay here for another 3 breaths, which I'm sure Sharon is loving. They don't call it fierce pose for nothing. And I know that Sharon enjoys this pose more than I do, so I'm taking some slight enjoyment in this.
Payback.
It's payback. It's payback. All right, one more breath. Exhale, fold. Really nice. Just allow yourself to be here for a moment. And then on the next inhale, we take our halfway lift. And let's step that right foot back this time, moving through what we call a vinyasa, so incorporating all those other transitions that we just did. High plank, shift forward to chaturanga, or your easy cobra, or upward facing dog. Whatever feels good for you guys, take whatever you need to, roll over the toes, downward facing dog. Pause. Introducing our next pose now, Veerabhadrasana One Warrior One. Starting with the right foot, we are going to hug that right knee tightly into the chest, 3-legged dog, really nice, and then step the foot between the palms. We're in a low lunge position. Now before we do anything else, we are going to pivot that back foot to a 45-degree angle, so we have heel to heel or heel to arch alignment. And as we carefully come up, we can come up via the hips to begin with, making sure that we've got the nice structure of the pose. So we really want to make sure that we've got that strong grounding down of the back foot. So just like we spoke about, all 4 corners of the foot, slight lift of the inner arch, quads are engaged, and our hips are squared to the front of the room. This is a closed hip pose, not an open hip. Now, a really nice visualization that I like to do in Veerabhadrasana One is to close down my eyes and imagine that this pose is a living and breathing thing. So as you take your next inhale through the nostrils, you climb up through the fingertips to the sky, and on the exhale, you melt deeper into that right knee, and that right knee is tracking right over that right ankle. Really nice. Let's take another breath here. Can you sink a little bit lower? And on your next inhale, you crack open the eyes, taking the hands in prayer for Classical Warrior One, and perhaps the eye gaze follows. Stay for the in-breath. Exhale, release, circle, sweep the hands. Make your way through your vinyasa, and we'll meet in downward facing dog. So whatever variation of the vinyasa you'd like to take, remember guys, you can take out the chaturanga, you can stick with your easy cobras, whatever feels good for you. There's absolutely no right or wrong here. So we're back in the downward facing dog. So we are going to lead with the opposite leg this time. So taking that left foot to sky, tiger curl that knee tightly into the chest, step the foot between the palms, we're in a low lunge, and we'll pivot that back foot to that 45-degree angle. And if you're ready, you can come straight up to upward hands in your Vira One. So checking in with everything, and always remember, if you need to adjust at all, please do so. It doesn't matter if you need to shift and rearrange at all. I want you to feel comfortable in this pose. And if the visualization helped you on the opposite side, please feel free to close down the eyes. Inhale to lengthen, exhale to soften. Let's take another 2 rounds here. Really nice. And we've got nice internal rotation of that back thigh. So that's internally rotating towards that left thigh. So they're both nice and engaged. Let's open the eyes, take the hands together in prayer. Eye gaze follows. Exhale, release. Make your way through your vinyasa. And it's always an option to skip it if it does get a little bit too much, and just simply step back to downward facing dog. And always remember in these transitional poses as well guys, to take at least 1 breath in each pose, because it's really about embodying the experience, especially with sun salutations, as it is a warm-up for our practices or starting your day or whatever it is. Just make sure you take your time with it. All right, so we're back in downward facing dog, and remembering that we never enter downward facing dog the same way. So I'm guessing after all of this movement, Sharon is feeling a lot more relaxed throughout the muscles and through the body, and it is becoming a little bit more like a resting pose now. Is that right?
Yes.
Amazing. I tell no lies. All right. So Sharon has the option here to step or hop to the top of the mat. She's chosen the jump through, meeting in a halfway lift. Lengthen, exhale to fold. All right, so to finish off our Surya Namaskar B, looking to the big toes, and you can take those big toes together, slight gap of the heels, or once again, if it's more comfortable, keep your feet hip width distance, and we'll make our way into Utkatasana, chair pose. Really nice. And zipping those thighs together, we have a nice strong foundation, hugging in through the midline, everything squeezing in nice and firm. Let's have another 2 breaths here. Really good softness in the shoulders. And on the next inhale, we come up to rise, Tadasana, taking our hands by our sides. Just taking a moment to allow the breath to settle, the mind to settle. And then we'll take our hands in prayer, thumbs to sternum, closing our practice today with a slight bow of the head to pay respect to this practice that has brought us all here together and that we continue to learn from. And now taking our thumbs to third eye center, always acknowledging the effort that we have made for one another. Namaste. All right, guys, we hope you enjoyed that. Sharon did an excellent job. Now, this is such a good way of warming up throughout the practice or for a practice. So don't worry if you don't get all of the progressions at once. It took me a really long time to do it, or even to pronounce them. So take what you want from it is all we can say. So we hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott.